All right, here is the second review answers for 8th grade, Module 4, Topic D. Number 1, Darnell and Hector ride their bikes at constant speeds. Darnell leaves Hector's house to bike home. He can bike 5 miles in 30 minutes. That's distance over time. So 5 miles in 30 minutes equals y over x, distance over time, or dependent variable over independent variable. Means extremes, we get 30y equals 5x, and then simplify by isolating the y. So divide by 30, and we get y equals 5/30, which is 1/6 x. Okay, and then 5 minutes after Darnell leaves, Hector realizes Darnell left his phone. Hector rides to catch up. He can ride to Darnell's house in 25 minutes. Well, let's talk about the 5 minutes after. If x is Hector's amount of time, then Darnell would ride 5 minutes longer. So this would be not just x, but x plus 5. And then we can completely write this equation by simplifying using the distributive property. 1/6 times x is 1/6 x, and 1/6 times 5 is a positive 5/6. So there's the equation for Darnell. Hector, if we talk about Hector, Hector rides the 5 miles in 25 minutes. So that's 5 miles in 25 minutes equals y over x. And we get 25y equals 5x. And then isolate the y by dividing by 25. And that gives us y equals 5/25, which is 1/5 x. Okay, and then since x stands for the amount of time that Hector rode, that's all we need. So our system is y equals 1/6 x plus 5/6, and the other equation is y equals 1/5 x. There's number 1. Number 2, sketch the graphs of the linear system. I'm going to start with the second one because slope-intercept form is easier. I know that this line crosses at -3, and the slope is up 2, right 1. So I can connect the line. As long as I have 2 points, I can draw the line. So it'd be something like this. And then the other equation, well, I remember that slope is in standard form. Slope is a negative a value over b value. So the slope is, in this case, a negative a value is a -7 over the b value, which is -1. So the slope is 7. So I know slope is 7. I'll write that over here so I can keep it. Slope is 7. And then the y-intercept is the c value over the b value. And the c value is a 3. So that's the c value. And the b value is a -1. So the y-intercept, or y-intercept, is a -3. So I know that this line also crosses at -3, but only it has a different slope, which is up 7, right 1. So that point is there, and then we can draw the line. And we see that the intersection is our solution, and that intersection is 0, -3. X value 0, y value -3. Then we just have to test that point to see if it satisfies both equations of our system. So I'm going to rewrite, whenever I see an x, I'm going to put in a 0, so 7 times 0, minus our y value, which is a -3, and that's equal to 3, And let's see, that goes away. 7 times 0 is gone. And the opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. So 3 equals 3. And it's true for the first equation. Second equation, if I put a negative 3 in for y and a 0 in for x, I get negative 3 is equal to negative 3, and that checks out. So we can clearly see that the solution is the intersection point 0, negative 3. Number 3. I don't have to solve it. I just have to tell you whether this is going to be a unique solution, infinitely many solutions, or no solution at all. So in order to do that, I want slope and y-intercept. And I have that on the second equation because it's in slope-intercept form. The slope is negative 3/5, and the y-intercept is 11/5. So we have that already. And on the first equation, it's standard form, so it's the slope is a negative a value, which is 3, so a negative 3, over the b value, which is 5, so a negative 3/5. And I can see they have the same slope. So these are either parallel lines, and they'll never intersect, meaning no solution, or they're the same line, and they intersect everywhere, meaning infinitely many solutions. So we just have to find the y-intercept, which is our c value 11 over our b value 5, and these are the same lines, so they intersect everywhere, and the answer is infinitely many solutions. Infinitely many. Number 4. Well, first equation, I know the slope is right here, 1/3, and the y-intercept is right here, negative 2. Okay, down here I have standard form. Slope is negative a value, which is a 1, so that's a negative 1, over my b value, which is a negative 3. So the slope is a positive 1/3. So again, we have the same slope. Either they don't intersect and they're parallel lines, and that means no solution, or they're the same line and they intersect everywhere, which means infinitely many solutions. So all I need is the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is our c value, negative 15, over our b value, negative 3, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive 5. Okay, so our y-intercepts are different. That means that these are parallel lines. They will never cross, so there is no solution. Number 5. Both standard form. So let's see, slope is a negative a value, that's a negative 2, over our b value, which is 5. So negative 2/5 for the first slope. Second equation, slope is a negative a value, which is 4, negative 4, and then our b value, which is 2, so this slope is a negative 2. We've got one slope that's negative 2/5, the other slope is a negative 2. That means that these two lines will cross at some point, and there is one unique solution. And that unique solution will be the intersection point. Number 6. Now we have to find the answers to the system, the solution to the system, or simultaneous equations. So this is standard form, so I'm going to eliminate. I'm just going to multiply this bottom equation by 2. So everything on the bottom equation I'm going to multiply by 2. That gives me 20x. 2 times negative 6 is a negative 12y. And 2 times 9 is 18. So now I've changed that equation, and when I combine these two equations, I get 18x, and 20x is 38x. Then I can combine the y's. Well, they cancel each other out. So now I have equals 1 and an 18 put together is 19. And if I divide by 38, that's going to give me my x value. X is 19/38, which is 1/2. Okay, then I only need to substitute 1/2 for every x that I see. So I'll use the top equation here, and I get 18 times 1/2 plus 12y equals 1. Half of 18 is 9, so 9 plus 12y equals 1. And then go about isolating the y. So subtract 9, I get 12y equals a -8. Divide by 12. And we get y equals a -8/12, which is -3, -2 thirds. Divide them both by 4. -8 divided by 4 is -2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Y is a -2/3. So the solution is x value 1/2. Y value -2/3. That's the solution to this system. Number 7. I'm going to use substitution since that is equal to y. I can just plug that in for this y, and I get 1/5 x plus 2 is equal to -2x minus 5. All right, and I just need all my x's on the same side, so I'm going to change the 2x to fifths. So if I multiply by 5, I get a -10/5. That's the same as -2 minus 5. Now I can add 10/5 x to both sides. And that gives us 11/5 x plus 2 equals -5. Subtract 2 from both sides. We get, I'll put it up here, 11/5 x equals a -5 and a -2 is a -7. And then I can multiply by reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 5/11 on both sides. To balance the equation, I get x equals a -35/11. That's my x value. Then I can plug that into either x and come up with my answer. I'll use the bottom equation. So y equals -2 times -35/11 minus 5. And that gives me a -2 times a -35 is 70/11 minus, I would like my 5s to be 11s, so that's minus 55/11 is the same as a -5. And when I subtract, I get y equals 15/11. So we have an x value and a y value. The solution to this system is x value -35/11, y value 15/11. And there you go. Number 8. Well, I'm going to use elimination because I'm really close. I just need one of these 3 x's to be a negative. So I'm going to multiply the top by a -1. That's going to give me a -3x. A -1 times a -5 is a positive 5y. And a -1 times a 62 is a -62. All right, so now these are my 2 equations. If I put them together, my x's cancel. I get 9y is equal to a -62 and a -28 is a -90. And when I isolate the y, we get y equals -10. Use either equation. I guess the second one will work. 3x plus 4 times y, which is a negative 10, equals a negative 28, and then solve for x. So we get 3x, 4 times negative 10 is a negative 40, equals a negative 28. Add 40 to both sides, and that gives us 3x equals a positive 12. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 4. So the solution to this system, x value 4, y value negative 10. Number 9. What's the easiest way? Well, it looks like I can change this 3y into a positive 6y just by multiplying through by 2. So I'm going to do that. 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times 3y is a positive 6y. And then, that's next. And then 2 times the negative 17 is a negative 34. All right. Now I can put those two together. A negative 2x and a positive 10x is 8x. The y's cancel, and I get a negative 8. Positive 26 and negative 34 is a negative 8. Divide each side by 8 to isolate the x, and we get x equals a negative 1. Negative 8/8 is negative 1. All right, and now I can just substitute into either equation. Let's use that top one. 5 times x, which is negative 1, plus 3y equals a negative 17. 5 times negative 1 is a negative 5 plus 3y equals negative 17. And then isolate the y. I'm going to add 5. That's going to give me 3y equals a negative 12. Divide each side by 3, and we get y equals a negative 4. So solution, x value negative 1, y value negative 4 is the solution to that system of equations. Number 10. LeBron scored 35 points by scoring only 2-point baskets and 1-point free throws. He made a total of 18 baskets. Well, if my 2-point baskets are x and my 1-point baskets are y, then I can say the number of 2-pointers plus the number of 1-pointers is a total of 18 baskets. That's one equation. Or I can assign value and say the number of 2-point baskets times 2, because they're worth 2 points, plus the number of 1-point baskets, that's just 1y, is equal to a total of 35. Now I have my system. All right, now we can solve the system by multiplying through, maybe multiply through by a negative 1 up here. That would give me a negative 1x, negative 1y, and that's equal to a negative 18. And now we can put those two together. 2x minus 1x is x. The y's cancel, and 35 minus 18 is 17. So x value is 17. And then I'm going to use this equation because that looks easy to solve for the y. X value is 17 plus y equals 18. Subtract 17 from both sides, and we get y equals 1. So the solution, number of 2-point baskets, 17. Number of 1-point baskets, 1. And that is the solution to this system. Okay, last one for this review. We have a language arts test. It's worth 100 points, and there are 20 questions. There are spelling word questions. We'll call those X. And there are vocabulary word questions. We'll call those Y. So I know there's 20 questions, so I could say X plus Y. All the spelling word questions plus all the vocabulary word questions is all of the questions. So that's that equation. And then if I assigned value, I could say the spelling word questions are worth 3 points, so 3x, plus the vocabulary word questions are worth 10 points, so 10y, and that's equal to 100 points. So now that is my system, and I can solve this system of equations in a few different ways. But I guess elimination looks good. Let's multiply through the top by a -3 so we can eliminate the x. So we're going to multiply the top by a -3. That gives me a -3x. -3 times y is a -3y. And a -3 times 20 is a -60. Okay, so now I have these two equations. That's our new system. When I combine them, the x's eliminate. 10 minus 3 is 7y. And that's equal to 100 minus 60, which is 40. And then to find the y value, divide by 7, we get y equals 40/7. And to calculate the x, I just use either equation. I'll use the top one again. And that is x plus y, which is 40/7, is equal to 20, which would be 147. And then we can subtract 47 from both sides. And that gives us x equals 140 minus 40 is 100/7. So there we have it. X value 100/7, y value 40/7. And that is how many of each type of question there are, which makes absolutely no sense. Other than one question, or some of the questions may be a combination of both. It's a bad question, but it did allow us to solve for an x and a y value. So good question. That's the answers to the second review. Use those two reviews to help study for the test. I'll see you tomorrow. Hope that helps.